Welcome to this episode where we're going to be talking about how to combine hair transplant and scalp micropigmentation with our SMP expert Jonathan from Giro Hair Inc. This video is going to be especially for all of you guys who have done hair transplants in the past, but you didn't achieve the density that you wished to achieve, and right now you may have limited donor zone and no more possibilities to extract for a major hair transplant to improve that density. And also you may be some of the guys who prefers to wear short buzz cuts and doesn't want to be perceived as a entirely bald guy yet. So in this video we will talk about with Jonathan how to utilize scalp micropigmentation to make this the best looking possible, using Andrew Tate as an example because he has done a hair transplant in the past that didn't result in the best possible density. You guys will see how Jonathan would advise Andrew Tate on how to improve his buzz cut appearance and make it look super smooth. And before we start, quick shout out to our sponsor GoFiber. These are hair building fibers you can use to mask any thinning or patchy areas on your scalp to make your hair look thicker and better. So make sure you check out the link in the video description below where you can visit GoFiber, get a free sample of your choice and try them out. See if you like them. Andrew Tate. We obviously know him as a guy with, the shaved head look, something like that, where you wouldn't be able to notice his hair growing out. Now, once it started growing out longer, like centimeter or two, once he got in prison, you notice that the frontal hairline is looking definitely more like the transplanted hairline with, some kind of like odd shape. It doesn't look like natural thinning at all. Obviously, from your standpoint right now, if you get a client like that, would he be a good candidate? What would you recommend him to make his hair look fuller and better?
The first thing I notice is the odd placement of the hairline. The first thing I like to do is the way I would fix Andrew Tate. I'd buzz him down with the T outliner clipper, and then I would like to recreate the hairline, but maybe put some random hairs in and out of the hairline to give it more of a natural feathered effect into the front of the hairline. So even if he grew his hair out for maybe 1 or 2 weeks after he shaved it, it still would have a natural flow. Even at this level, even if it's long, we could still fill that in. And just, breaking that transition to where he's bald and to the sides, just giving that density would make this picture look so much better. But obviously, like you said, the hairline, definitely it looks like he had a FUE in there.
Yeah.
Definitely transplanted the hair. The doctor took the thicker hairs in the back of the head. It doesn't look like he put too many tiny, single hairs into the front hairline. It looks like he maybe did the groups of 2s and 3s into the hairline.
Would you also maybe correct the temples? Would you pigment the temples, or would you just do the hairline in this case?
I would just do the hairline. I wouldn't even touch the temples. I'd blend into it a little bit, maybe a good, like my temples, I just went down maybe half an inch into it, just like a light little sprinkle. So if he ever shaved his head, at least he'll have that nice transition in there.
Based on what you said previously, like you advised to start with pigmentation like behind his hairline, right? So the pigmentation would start being sprinkled in like behind, like somewhere here, like we're talking about maybe?
With his, yeah, especially with his hairline, I would, if I shaved him down with like if we just took a razor and shaved it down, I would probably put maybe tiny little baby, right here. I would put tiny little baby ones even below the hairline, only in his situation, like very, like, especially in this region here, you could see, I would put maybe a couple light ones here, a couple light ones here, just to give him like an irregular looking hairline.
So lighter pigment, like a little bit ahead of the hairline, and then do the usual thing then behind and kind of making it denser, from there, like all the way to the back. Yeah, that's something that I'm sure some of the guys also find themselves in. Like there are many, Turkey guys go there in their 20s. They end up getting like a huge number of grafts. They get something like this, which may look even full for maybe a couple of years in their 20s. And then eventually they end up with just the transplanted frontal island. And then they will thin completely behind. And they will be like, potential candidates for this type of, reconstruction with help of SMP.
Great. This is a great example to show, a lot of guys are similar to his situation too.
Interestingly is that once he shaved it completely, if we go to like shaved head, You don't even notice the transplant, right? You don't notice much there. It actually looks pretty smooth. And I was actually thinking, like, has this guy done like SMP maybe in the past or something like that?
That could just be a filter, you know, the camera picturing. But
Right.
you know, even with me, like if I shave my head down, my head has a similar look to his. It actually, even though it is SMP, but he's got that kind of style to it. Even you know, even though it's a transplant, it looks better. His looks better shaved down than it does growing it out.
Yeah. So you would recommend him to keep it like which length after he would do something like that?
I would say, you know, like a no guard clipper or even a T outliner, you know, somewhere around my level where he just got a little bit of hair. Even me having FUEs, I've noticed that the hairs after maybe 2 or 3 weeks, they grow in an upwards direction here. So instead of my natural hair growth is this way, right here is where I had the FUEs, and they grow upward. But when I take it short, you don't see that upward growth. You see it just like a nice transition in there. But after maybe a month or two of growing it, you don't see the direction that then they actually go with any direction you want to put it. So this is something I personally noticed with my own FUE.
Wow, yeah, that's nice. So anything like less than 2 weeks of growth should be manageable.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's usually like 5-6 millimeters that you get after 2 weeks. After a month, it's about a centimeter. That might be already too long for this. So maybe like 2 weeks, like once every 2 weeks to trim it short. That should always like still look good. Which again, on the other hand, is better than shaving your head like every 2-3 days. If you know don't have SMP, if you have like the horseshoe pattern, you don't want or cannot get a hair transplant anymore, and at that point, so it gives you a better, you know, it frees your hands a little bit. If you have the SMP, it can still look like pretty okay for like 2 weeks if you are diffusely thinning on top. And obviously if you would shave it completely, then you cannot let it grow for even like 5 days probably, or 6-7 days. But if you have that SMP, it can still give you that more time until you need to, or you are forced to shave it off. Yeah.